Commander Zixthara floated near the observation deck of the monitoring station, watching the third planet of the Sol system spin slowly in the darkness. The blue and green world looked peaceful from this distance, but she knew better than to trust appearances. Every new species that joined the galactic community started the same way: primitive, aggressive, and completely unaware of how small they really were in the vast universe. The ethereal collective had assigned her to this boring duty 3 months ago, and she was already tired of watching the humans stumble around their solar system like children learning to walk. Their rockets still used chemical fuel, which made her laugh every time she saw the crude explosions that barely lifted their ships off the planet's surface. Most civilizations had moved past such methods thousands of years ago. Science officer. Grum walked up behind her, his heavy stone feet making the metal floor vibrate with each step. The Stone Tusk Empire representative was even less impressed with humanity than she was, if that was possible. He carried a data pad in his massive hands and shook his rocky head as he read the latest reports. "Look at this nonsense," Grum said, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "The humans are planning another test of their so-called advanced weapons. They want to shoot metal projectiles at targets using magnetic fields." Zixthara turned her graceful form toward him, her translucent body shimmering with amusement. "Projectile? Weapons? Are you serious? What century do they think this is? Even the most backward civilizations gave up throwing rocks at each other millions of years ago." "The intelligence reports say they call it a railgun," Grum continued, reading from his pad. "They seem very excited about it. They think it will revolutionize their military capabilities." The commander laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Poor things. They have no idea that energy weapons made projectiles useless before. Their planet even had complex life. Should we tell them they are wasting their time?" "The council says we should let them figure it out on their own," Grum replied. "Standard protocol for primitive species. Let them exhaust themselves with outdated technology before we make contact. It makes them more grateful for our guidance when the time comes." Far below them, on the human space station they had designated as Liberty's Edge, Captain Jake Murphy was having a very different conversation. He stood in the command center of the orbital platform, surrounded by screens showing technical readouts and system status reports. The railgun project had consumed 3 years of his life, and today would finally prove whether all that work had been worth it. Dr. Lisa Carter approached him with a tablet full of final calculations. She was the lead scientist on the project, and Murphy had learned to trust her judgment completely over the past few years. Her team had solved problems that military engineers said were impossible, and the captain suspected they were about to surprise everyone again. "The power systems are ready," Dr. Carter said, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. "We have achieved stable magnetic field generation across the entire length of the accelerator tube. The targeting computer has locked onto the test facility coordinates." "What about the projectile itself?" Murphy asked, checking his own displays. "The tungsten rod modifications your team made. Are you confident they will hold together at the velocities we are planning?" Dr. Carter smiled in a way that made Murphy slightly nervous. "The crystalline matrix we developed should not only hold the projectile together, but actually enhance its performance in ways we have never seen before. The theoretical models suggest results that seem almost impossible." Admiral Chris Bolton entered the command center at that moment, having traveled up from Earth specifically to witness this test. He was an old soldier who had seen many weapons, demonstrations in his career, but something about this project felt different to him. The scientists working on it had a confidence that went beyond normal military optimism. Gentlemen, Dr. Carter, the Admiral said, nodding to each of them. Are we ready to make history today? More ready than the galaxy realizes, Dr. Carter replied, quietly. Up on the monitoring station, Zixathera was placing bets with other observation posts scattered throughout nearby star systems. The crystalline hive mind of Proxima had observers watching, as did the Merchant Guild and even some military, scouts from the Crimson Fleet. Everyone wanted to see what the cute new species would do with their primitive weapons. I am betting they will not even hit their target, Zixathera transmitted to the other stations. Chemical rockets are one thing, but magnetic projectile launchers require precision they simply do not possess yet. Agreed, came the reply from the Proxima station. Our younglings find human attempts at technology amusing. This should provide good entertainment. The Crimson Fleet observer was less diplomatic. When they inevitably fail and destroy themselves with their crude weapons, we will move in to harvest what resources remain. These humans show promise as slave labor. Grum checked his instruments again and noticed something odd. Commander, the energy readings from the human station are higher than expected. Are you certain their technology is as primitive as the reports suggest? Zixathera glanced at his datapad and dismissed the readings with a wave of her ethereal hand. Their instruments must be malfunctioning. No species at their development level could generate power signatures like that. The laws of physics simply do not allow it. On Liberty's Edge, Dr. Carter was making final adjustments to systems that would have impressed galactic engineers if they had bothered to look closely. Her team had independently discovered principles that most civilizations took centuries to develop, and they had done it in a completely different way than anyone else in the galaxy. The quantum-enhanced magnetic field generators were her proudest achievement. While other species had focused on energy efficiency and elegant solutions, Carter's team had approached the problem with raw computational power and stubborn human determination. They had brute-forced their way through physics problems that stumped civilizations with millions of years of experience. Lieutenant Amy Foster sat at the weapons control station, her hands hovering over the firing controls. She had trained for months to operate the railgun, but the actual moment still felt surreal. Beside her, Sergeant Ryan Clark monitored the power systems, watching energy levels climb to numbers that made him slightly uncomfortable. All stations. Report ready, Corporal Beth Williams announced from the communications console. We have clear space between us and the target. No civilian traffic in the danger zone. Captain Murphy looked around the command center one final time. His crew was ready. The weapon was ready. Earth was about to announce itself to the galaxy in a way no one expected. Dr. Carter, he said formally, you may proceed when ready. The scientist nodded and activated the final sequence. Across the station, machinery that had taken years to build hummed to life with a sound like controlled thunder. Energy flowed through superconducting coils in patterns that would have amazed alien observers if they had been paying attention to the right instruments. 30 seconds to firing, Dr. Carter announced. Up on the monitoring station, Zixathera was laughing with her colleagues about human ambition when Grum suddenly grabbed her arm with one massive stone hand. Commander, he said urgently, you need to see this. The power readings are off every scale we have. But it was too late for the galaxy to prepare for what came next. 3 months after the battle that changed galactic history, the Galactic Council chamber on Centauri Prime looked remarkably different. The old chamber had been damaged during what official records diplomatically called a meteor shower, though everyone knew the meteors had been precisely guided chunks of asteroid material that had somehow appeared in orbit around the supposedly impregnable Council world. The new chamber was larger, brighter, and designed to accommodate additional seating for species that had not previously been considered worthy of council membership. Admiral Kate Morrison walked through the entrance doors, wearing a crisp blue uniform that marked her new position as Earth's first Secretary of Galactic Relations. Behind her came a delegation of humans representing various aspects of Earth's government, military, and civilian sectors. Unlike her previous visits, Kate was not alone, and she was not there to receive ultimatums. The alien delegates who rose to greet her were the same individuals who had demanded humanity's surrender 4 months earlier, but their attitudes had undergone a remarkable transformation. Ambassador Zekthor of the Vorthon Empire approached with his forearms extended in the traditional Vorthon gesture of respect between equals. His steel-colored skin bore new scars earned during intensive negotiations with his own government, but his eyes showed something that had not been there before: genuine respect. "Secretary Morrison," Zekthor said in careful English, having spent the past months learning human language and customs, "the Vorthon Empire welcomes you to these proceedings. We look forward to learning more about human perspectives on galactic governance." Council Leader Quindar floated in his sphere of blue light, but the energy patterns surrounding him indicated curiosity rather than the cold authority he had displayed during their previous meetings. "Secretary Morrison, we have prepared the AV chamber according to human specifications. I trust the environmental controls are suitable for your delegation?" Kate nodded politely as she took her position at what was now called the partnership table rather than the judgment platform. "Thank you, Council Leader. The accommodations are excellent. Shall we begin?" The formal proceedings opened with Dr. Alex Carter presenting the document that would reshape galactic civilization, the Prometheus Protocols. The name honored humanity's mythological figure who brought fire to mortals, though in this case the fire was knowledge, cooperation, and a completely new approach to interstellar relations. The Prometheus Protocols, Alex explained to the assembled delegates, represent 25 years of human analysis of galactic civilization, combined with input from representatives of all member species. The goal is not to replace existing structures, but to create new frameworks that benefit everyone. He activated holographic displays that showed comparative analyses of resource distribution, technological development, and territorial expansion across the galaxy. Current galactic civilization is based on a hierarchy maintained through military force and economic control. This system has created stability, but it has also limited growth, stifled innovation, and prevented many species from reaching their full potential. Ambassador Veltar of the Keth Mori leaned forward with interest. Her people had spent months analyzing the human victory and had reached disturbing conclusions about their own previous assumptions. "Dr. Carter, your analysis suggests that the current system is not just morally questionable, but also economically inefficient. Could you elaborate on this point?" Alex smiled and shifted to a new set of displays showing projected economic growth under different governance models. The Keth Mori economic analyses are correct. When civilizations are limited by fear of punishment rather than encouraged by opportunity for growth, the entire galaxy suffers reduced productivity. Species that could contribute valuable innovations are instead focused on survival and compliance. The Zalani delegation whispered among themselves in their musical language before their representative spoke up. "The financial projections are impressive, but how do we ensure that rapid expansion and development don't lead to resource conflicts between species?" President Jake Collins, who had arrived for the historic signing ceremony, stood to address the question. The protocols include mandatory resource sharing agreements and joint development projects. Instead of competing for limited resources, species work together to find new sources and develop more efficient utilization methods. He gestured to Captain Ryan Torres, whose deep space fleet had been redesignated as the Galactic Exploration Service. Captain Torres will be leading joint missions that include representatives from all member species. These missions will focus on mapping unexplored regions, locating new resources, and establishing colonies that benefit the entire galactic community. The transformation in alien attitudes was remarkable. Where once there had been suspicion and hostility, there was now genuine curiosity about human methods and proposals. The species that had tried to destroy humanity 4 months earlier were now eager to learn from them. The change had begun immediately after the battle. When human repair teams had boarded the disabled alien vessels, they had not come as conquerors or captors. Instead, they had arrived with technical manuals, spare parts, and offers to help upgrade alien systems with human innovations. The crews that had expected imprisonment or execution found themselves receiving engineering tutorials and cultural exchange programs. Admiral Vexmar of the Vorthan fleet had been particularly affected by his interactions with human personnel. "Your repair teams," he had told Admiral Parker during the recovery operations, "treated our disabled vessels as if they were rescuing allies rather than processing defeated enemies. This behavior is unprecedented in galactic military history." The human response had been characteristically practical. "Why would we treat you as enemies?" Admiral Parker had replied. "The war is over. You're no longer a threat, and we all have to live in the same galaxy. It makes more sense to help each other than to waste time holding grudges." This attitude had permeated every aspect of human-alien interaction during the 3 months of negotiations that followed the battle. Human diplomats had approached each species not as conquered subjects or dangerous opponents, but as potential partners with unique perspectives and capabilities. The results were evident in the Prometheus protocols themselves. Rather than a human-dominated, treaty imposed on defeated enemies, the document was a collaborative effort that incorporated the best ideas from all member species. Vorthan military expertise contributed to the security provisions. Zalani economic knowledge shaped the trade agreements. Kaithmori analytical methods influenced the governance structures. As the formal ceremony proceeded, each species added their agreement to the protocols. The document was signed using traditional methods from all member cultures: Vorthan blood seals, Zalani bioluminescent patterns, Kaithmori quantum encryption, and human ink signatures. The moment that would be remembered by galactic historians occurred when the final signature was added. President Jake Collins stood before the assembled delegates holding a simple pen made of earth metals and human craftsmanship. "Before I sign this document," Jake said, "I want to address something that has been bothering me for the past 4 months. When Admiral Morrison first came before this council, you demanded humanity's surrender because you saw us as a threat to galactic peace. You were right about us being a threat, but wrong about what kind of threat we represented." He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes or optical sensors of delegates from 12 different species. "We are a threat to the idea that might makes right. We are a threat to the belief that advanced technology justifies oppression. We are a threat to any system that prevents intelligent beings from reaching their full potential." Jake's voice grew stronger as he continued. "But we are not a threat to peace itself. Real peace is not achieved by making everyone too afraid to fight. Real peace comes when everyone has too much to lose by fighting and too much to gain by cooperating." He signed the document with a flourish and set the pen down on the partnership table. The Prometheus Protocols represent humanity's vision of what galactic civilization can become when fear is replaced by hope, when competition is balanced with cooperation, and when diversity is seen as strength rather than threat. The ceremony concluded with what human observers would later describe as the most remarkable diplomatic moment in galactic history. Representatives from 13 different species, 12 who had tried to destroy humanity, and 1 who had refused to surrender, stood together and formally established the Galactic Partnership. The partnership differed from the old council in fundamental ways. Membership was based on contribution rather than conquest. Decisions were made through consensus rather than force. Resources were shared rather than hoarded. Most importantly, expansion and exploration were encouraged rather than restricted. In the months that followed, the effects of the partnership became evident throughout the galaxy. Joint human-alien colonies began appearing in previously unexplored systems. Mixed crews of different species worked together on research projects that no single civilization could have completed alone. Trade routes that had been restricted for the emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted 18 hours. Fleet commanders from 12 species reported the same disturbing news through encrypted channels. Human civilians had appeared simultaneously on every major world, revealing themselves with cheerful waves and friendly smiles. More troubling still, detailed scans revealed that these humans had been living undetected in alien societies for years, sometimes decades. Admiral Vexmar of the Vorthan battle fleet slammed his armored fist against the communication console in his flagship. Impossible! Our security systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. How could primitive humans infiltrate our homeworld without detection? Similar outrage echoed from commanders of the other species. The Zilani had found humans working in their financial centers, with access to trade secrets worth billions of credits. The Kethmori discovered human researchers in their most secure libraries, studying classified technological data. Every species faced the same shocking reality. Their societies had been completely compromised by beings they had dismissed as harmless primitives. Council leader Quindar's sphere pulsed with angry red light as he processed reports from across the galaxy. The humans had not just infiltrated alien societies, they had done so while maintaining perfect operational security for decades. Not one human agent had been caught, detected, or even suspected until they chose to reveal themselves. The question, Quindar announced to the emergency session, is whether this infiltration represents an act of war or an act of diplomacy. The humans could have used their positions to cause massive damage. Instead, they chose to reveal themselves peacefully while delivering a message about their peaceful intentions. Ambassador Zekthor disagreed violently. His forearms moved in gestures that indicated extreme agitation. Peaceful intentions. They have spies throughout our territories. They have compromised our security and demonstrated that they can strike at the heart of our civilizations whenever they choose. This is the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history, and they executed it while pretending to be harmless explorers. The debate raged for hours, while military commanders across the galaxy scrambled to assess the security implications. The consensus gradually emerged that humanity represented a threat unlike anything the Galactic Council had faced before. Previous challenges had come from species that relied on superior technology or overwhelming numbers. Humanity appeared to possess something far more dangerous, the ability to understand and infiltrate other cultures so completely that they became invisible. The decision to proceed with military action was unanimous. If humanity could not be controlled, through diplomacy they would be eliminated through force. The combined fleets of 12 species began moving toward human space, carrying enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Admiral Sam Parker stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Liberty, watching sensor displays that showed the approaching alien armada. He was a veteran of the Colonial Expansion Program who had commanded exploration vessels before the current crisis. His weathered face showed no fear as he studied the tactical situation. "How many ships are we looking at, Commander?" His tactical officer, Commander Beth Adams, consulted her displays with steady hands. "Final count shows 11,437 vessels, Admiral. Broken down by species, we have approximately 2,000 Vorthan warships, 1,800 Zalani battle cruisers, 1,500 Keth-Mori tactical vessels, and similar numbers from the other 9 species." Admiral Parker nodded calmly. "And our force strength?" "Official Earth Defense Fleet consists of 312 vessels, sir. All crews are at battle stations and ready for engagement." The bridge crew maintained professional composure, but Parker could sense the underlying tension. By any reasonable calculation, the upcoming battle would last approximately 15 minutes and end with the complete destruction of human forces. The alien fleet outnumbered them more than 30 to 1 with superior technology and firepower. Parker activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Parker. In approximately 1 hour, we will engage the combined forces of the Galactic Council in defense of Earth and human independence. I know the numbers look bad, but remember that numbers only matter if your enemy knows where all your pieces are." He smiled as he delivered the next part of his message. "Execute Operation Checkmate. Let's show our guests what humanity has been building for the past 20 years. Across human space, the real war began." On the mining colony of Kepler-7, farmers who had been tending crops for 2 decades revealed that their agricultural equipment contained sophisticated targeting systems. The irrigation systems they had been maintaining were actually mass drivers capable of accelerating chunks of asteroid material to significant fractions of light speed. Within minutes, the peaceful farming colony transformed into an artillery platform with range measured in light years. The colony commander, a cheerful woman named Carol Martinez, who had previously been known for organizing harvest festivals, calmly coordinated the targeting of alien fleet formations. "Mass Driver 7 has a firing solution on the Vorthan heavy cruiser group," she reported to her tactical staff. "Driver 12 can target the Zalani support vessels. All drivers report ready for synchronized barrage." Similar transformations occurred throughout human space. The research station orbiting the gas giant in the New Montana system revealed itself to be a massive sensor array capable of tracking ship movements across multiple star systems. The communication relays that human colonies had been using for routine messages were actually quantum entanglement networks that provided instantaneous coordination across galactic distances. Most shocking of all was the revelation of humanity's true fleet strength. Captain Lisa Jordan commanded what the aliens believed to be a small exploration group operating in the outer systems. As the Galactic Council forces moved to surround Earth, Lisa's ships emerged from hiding places the aliens had never suspected existed. Human vessels appeared from within asteroid fields where they had been concealed for years, their hulls disguised to look like space debris. Ships rose from the surfaces of airless moons, where they had been buried under carefully arranged regolith. Entire squadrons emerged from nebulae, where they had been using the ionized gas as camouflage while monitoring. Alien communications. This is Captain Jordan to all checkmate units, Lisa broadcast on the fleet command frequency. Phase 1 positions confirmed. We have the entire alien fleet surrounded. Begin Phase 2 on my mark. The alien commanders realized too late that they had walked into a trap. What they had believed to be a simple extermination mission against a primitive species had become a complex tactical nightmare. Human forces appeared in positions that should have been impossible to reach undetected, using technology that should not have existed, coordinating with precision that should have been beyond human capabilities. Admiral Vexmar of the Vorthan fleet found his formation surrounded by human ships that had approached from directions his sensors had not been monitoring. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his tactical staff. "Our sensors show empty space, but there are human vessels within weapons range." His science officer, a veteran of dozens of space battles, studied the sensor readings with growing confusion. "Sir, the human ships appear to be using some kind of stealth technology that makes them nearly invisible to our detection systems. They were able to approach to point-blank range without triggering any of our security protocols." Similar reports flooded in from every alien commander. Human ships had achieved perfect positioning against forces that vastly outnumbered them. The technological advantage that the Galactic Council had counted on was neutralized by superior tactics and preparation. The actual battle lasted exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds. It was not the glorious victory the alien forces had expected, nor was it the hopeless last stand they had prepared to face. Instead, it was a carefully orchestrated demonstration of what happened when beings who thought like warriors, merchants, and scholars encountered beings who thought like engineers, psychologists, and teachers. The human fleet did not destroy the alien armada. Instead, they systematically disabled every alien vessel using weapons and tactics that the Council forces had never encountered. Ships found their engines shut down by electromagnetic pulses that penetrated their shields. Communication systems failed as human electronic warfare specialists took control of alien networks. Weapons systems locked up when human hackers introduced carefully crafted viruses into alien targeting computers. Within 15 minutes, 11,000 alien warships were floating helplessly in space while 300 human vessels maintained perfect formation around them. Not a single alien crew member had been killed, but every alien vessel was completely helpless. Admiral Parker opened a communication channel that reached every ship in the alien fleet. "Attention Galactic Council forces. This is Admiral Sam Parker of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are unharmed. You are free to contact your governments and report what has happened here today." 30 days passed like water flowing through a narrow channel. On human colonies throughout the galaxy, farmers continued tending their crops while secretly checking the hidden weapon systems buried beneath their fields. Miners extracted ore during the day and calibrated mass drivers during the night. Children played in schools built over ammunition depots, and their teachers smiled while monitoring tactical communication networks. The Galactic Council chamber on Centauri Prime buzzed with nervous energy as delegates arrived for the scheduled meeting. Ambassador Zekthor paced in his waiting area, his forearms moving restlessly as he reviewed tactical reports from Vorthan fleet commanders. The Zalani merchants whispered among themselves about the economic disruption that would follow, humanity's extinction. The Keth Mori scholars analyzed human behavior patterns, trying to predict what desperate last measure the primitive species might attempt. Council leader Quindar floated in his sphere of blue light, his thoughts cycling through calculations about human psychology and military capabilities. In 30 years of leading the Galactic Council, he had overseen the surrender or destruction of 17 species that had violated galactic law. Every previous case had followed the same pattern: initial defiance, followed by negotiation attempts, ending in either submission or a hopeless final battle. The massive chamber doors opened precisely on schedule. Admiral Kate Morrison walked through them wearing the same black uniform, moving with the same steady steps, maintaining the same calm expression. The only difference was the small metal case she carried in her left hand. She took her position on the central platform and waited while the alien delegates settled into their seats. The chamber fell silent except for the soft hum of life support systems and the occasional rustle of alien clothing or breathing apparatus. Council leader Quindar's sphere pulsed brighter as he addressed the human representative. Admiral Morrison, 30 days have passed since this council delivered its ultimatum to your species. Have you come to announce humanity's surrender and compliance with our demands? Kate Morrison looked up at the floating sphere of light with the same steady gaze she had used 30 days earlier. I have come to deliver Earth's formal response to your ultimatum. She opened the metal case and removed a single sheet of white paper. The document was so simple that it seemed almost primitive compared to the holographic displays and quantum communication systems surrounding it. Kate held the paper up so that every delegate could see it clearly. The response consisted of exactly one word, printed in large black letters in the center of the page: no. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs and angry growls from 12 different species. Ambassador Zekthor rose from his seat, his steel-colored skin gleaming under the chamber lights. That is your complete response? A single word of defiance? Kate folded the paper carefully and placed it back in the case. That is Earth's official position, yes. However, I have been authorized to provide some additional context that might help you understand why we have made this decision. She activated a small device on her belt, and holographic displays appeared in the air around the chamber. The first image showed a detailed map of Vorthon space, with every fleet position, supply depot, and military installation clearly marked. Ambassador Zekthor, Kate said, addressing the tall warrior directly. Your people value strength above all else. You respect enemies who can match your power and despise those who surrender without fighting. For the past 20 years, human observers have studied Vorthon military philosophy, battle tactics, and warrior culture. The display shifted to show historical records of Vorthon conflicts. We know that your greatest victory was the Battle of Kethros Nebula, where Admiral Vorthak defeated a superior enemy force through superior positioning and timing. We know that your species considers a glorious defeat more honorable than a cowardly surrender. We know that you judge other races by their willingness to stand and fight regardless of the odds. Zekthor's eyes widened as he realized the implications. The humans had not just been watching Vorthon military movements, they had been studying Vorthon souls. Kate turned to address the Zilani delegation. The jellyfish-like beings floated in their environmental suits, their bioluminescent patterns, flickering with what humans had learned to recognize as surprise and concern. The Zilani Merchant Guild understands that everything has a price, Kate continued. Your people have turned commerce into an art form, calculating profit and loss across centuries of galactic trade. You believe that any problem can be solved if you properly understand the costs and benefits involved. New displays show detailed economic analyses of Zilani trade routes, resource extraction operations, and financial networks. We have studied your economic systems for 2 decades. We know that a war against humanity would cost the Zilani Guild approximately 40% of your annual profits. We know that destroying human colonies would eliminate access to 17 rare mineral deposits that your manufacturing processes require. We know that the economic disruption would last for decades and might trigger a galactic recession. The Zilani delegates' bioluminescent patterns shifted to colors that indicated deep concern. They had assumed the primitive humans had no understanding of galactic economics. Kate's attention moved to the Keth-Mori section of the chamber. Ambassador Veltar leaned forward in her seat, her large black eyes focusing intently on the human representative. The Keth-Mori prided themselves on being the galaxy's greatest scholars and strategists. The Keth-Mori species values knowledge and intelligence above all else, Kate said. Your libraries contain the accumulated wisdom of 1,000 civilizations. Your scholars spend centuries analyzing patterns, predicting outcomes, and developing strategies that account for every possible variable. The displays now show detailed psychological profiles of every major Keth-Mori leader, complete with personal histories, decision-making patterns, and philosophical beliefs. We have studied Keth-Mori analytical methods and applied them to this situation. Our conclusion is that any species advanced enough to threaten the Galactic Council would not reveal that capability until the moment they chose to use it. Veltar's silver skin had turned a pale shade that indicated shock. The humans had just demonstrated that they understood Keth-Mori thinking processes better than most Keth-Mori did. Kate continued her presentation, addressing each of the 12 species in turn. For the crystalline Thorian collective, she explained how human methods of cooperation and coordination worked differently from their hive mind approach but achieved similar results. For the gaseous Etherian entities, she discussed human concepts of individual consciousness and how they related to Etherian philosophy about the nature of existence. With each species, Kate demonstrated the same pattern. Humans had not just been observing alien behavior, they had been studying alien cultures, psychology, and fundamental worldviews. They had learned to think like each species while maintaining their own unique perspective. As the presentation continued, the alien delegates began to understand that they were dealing with something unprecedented. Every previous species that had challenged the Galactic Council had relied on their own cultural framework and assumptions. Humans had instead adapted themselves to understand 12 different alien mindsets simultaneously. The final part of Kate's presentation addressed the entire Council collectively. Over the past 30 days, you have been preparing for war against humanity. Your fleets have been repositioning, your supply lines have been secured, and your military commanders have been developing battle plans. You believe you know where every human ship is located and what our capabilities are. She activated one last holographic display that showed real-time footage from hundreds of locations throughout the galaxy. The images appeared to be security camera feeds from alien homeworlds, military bases, and fleet staging areas. In every image, a human figure stood quietly in plain sight. They were not hiding or sneaking. They were simply standing in public places, outside government buildings, in alien neighborhoods, near military installations. Each human wore civilian clothing and appeared to be doing nothing more threatening than sightseeing. These are not soldiers or spies, Kate explained, calmly. They are human civilians who have been living peacefully in your societies for years. Some are teachers, some are merchants, Some are students or researchers. All of them volunteered to reveal themselves today to deliver a simple message. The camera angles shifted to show the humans more clearly. Each one smiled and waved at the security cameras as if greeting old friends. Some held up signs written in local alien languages that said things like, "Hello from Earth," and "We come in peace." "The message is this," Kate continued. "If humanity had wanted to harm any of your species, we could have done so years ago. These people have been living among you, learning about your societies, becoming part of your communities. They have had countless opportunities to sabotage your infrastructure, steal your secrets, or cause chaos. Instead, they chose to build friendships, contribute to your societies, and help bridge the gap between human and alien cultures." The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. Admiral Kate Morrison walked through them with steady steps, her black uniform clean and pressed, her face calm as still water. Behind her walked two guards, but they seemed more nervous than she did. The chamber stretched out before them like a small city, with curved walls that reached up into darkness and seats arranged in perfect circles around a central platform. 12 different alien species sat in those seats, each group wearing their traditional robes and breathing their preferred atmosphere through personal shields. The air shimmered with different colors where the shields met, creating rainbow patterns that danced across the polished floor. Some aliens looked like giant insects with too many eyes. Others appeared as floating jellyfish made of light. A few resembled trees that had learned to walk and think. All of them watched the human woman with expressions that could have been curiosity or hunger. Kate stepped onto the central platform and stood at attention. She did not bow. She did not lower her eyes. She simply waited while the murmurs and whispers of 12 languages filled the air around her like wind through leaves. Ambassador Zekthor of the Vorthon Empire rose from his seat. He stood 9 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like polished steel. When he spoke, his voice boomed through hidden speakers that translated his words into every language present. His people were known as the greatest warriors in the galaxy, and his scars proved he had earned that reputation through personal combat. "Human Admiral Morrison," Zekthor began, "you stand before this council accused of crimes against galactic peace. Your species has violated the expansion accord signed 20 years ago. You have built colonies on 17 worlds without permission. You have refused to follow established trade routes. Your ships appear in systems where they should not be. Your people do not respect the boundaries set by civilizations far older than yours." Kate listened without moving. Her hands stayed at her sides. Her breathing remained steady. When Zekthor finished speaking, she simply nodded once to show she had heard him. Council leader Quindar floated forward in his sphere of blue light. His species had no solid form, existing as pure thought wrapped in energy. When he spoke, the words appeared directly in the minds of everyone present, rather than through sound. His thoughts felt cold and sharp, like winter air. "Admiral Morrison, we have evidence of your species' crimes. Shall we review them for the record?" Kate's voice was clear and steady when she replied. "Present your evidence, Council Leader. Earth has nothing to hide." The chamber darkened, and holographic displays appeared in the air above them. The first image showed human ships landing on a green world with purple skies. Colonists poured out of the ships and began building structures that looked nothing like the approved settlement designs. "This is the Kepler system," announced Quindar. "Your people established a colony here without requesting permission from the rightful owners, the Zalani Merchant Guild. The Zilani had been using this world as a storage facility for 300 years. The next image showed human ships moving through space in formation. They traveled in groups of 3, with one large ship surrounded by 2 smaller ones. Their path cut directly through what appeared to be empty space. "These ships violate the established shipping lanes," continued Quindar. "The lanes exist to prevent accidents and maintain order. Your ships ignore them completely, creating dangerous situations for other travelers." More images followed. Human colonies on ice worlds, desert worlds, and worlds covered in ocean. Each one showed the same pattern: humans arriving, building quickly, and establishing themselves without asking anyone's permission. In every case, Quindar's thoughts pressed into their minds. Your species demonstrates the same behavior. You take what you want without considering others. You expand like a disease, consuming resources and claiming territory that belongs to the galactic community. Kate watched each image carefully. Her expression never changed. She might have been watching a documentary about weather patterns for all the emotion she showed. Ambassador Veltar of the Kethmori species stood next. Her people looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin and large black eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy as the greatest scholars and scientists, their libraries containing the knowledge of 1,000 worlds. "Most disturbing of all," Veltar said in a voice like music, "is your species' response to authority. When confronted by superior forces, most intelligent species show appropriate caution. They negotiate. They seek compromise. They demonstrate respect for power they cannot match. Your people do none of these things." She gestured, and new images appeared. These showed human ships facing much larger alien vessels. In every case, the human ships neither fled nor surrendered. Instead, they maintained their positions and waited. When our patrol ships encountered your vessels in the Rigel system, your captain's response was to smile and wave. When Vorthon warships demanded your colonists leave the Tau Ceti system, your people invited them to dinner. When Zilani trade vessels tried to board your ships for inspection, your crews offered them tours and asked about their families. Veltar's large eyes focused on Kate with an intensity that would have made most beings uncomfortable. This behavior suggests either complete ignorance of galactic power structures or dangerous mental instability. Neither option bodes well for peaceful coexistence. The chamber fell silent, except for the soft hum of life support systems and the occasional click or chirp from alien delegates. Kate remained motionless on the platform, surrounded by the evidence of humanity's supposed crimes. Council Leader. Quindar's sphere pulsed brighter as he prepared to deliver judgment. "Admiral Morrison, this council has reached a unanimous decision. Your species poses a clear threat to galactic stability. The evidence shows that humans cannot be trusted to follow civilized behavior. You expand without permission, ignore established laws, and show no respect for superior authority." The sphere rotated slowly as Quindar's thoughts became sharper and colder. "Therefore, the Galactic Council issues this ultimatum to the human species. You have 30 Earth days to comply with the following demands. First, all human colonies beyond your original solar system must be abandoned. Second, Earth must submit to direct galactic oversight, including the placement of peacekeeping forces on your homeworld. Third, human population must be limited to prevent future uncontrolled expansion. Fourth, all human space vessels must be surrendered to Council forces for inspection and modification." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the chamber like a heavy blanket. If humanity does not comply with these demands within 30 days, the combined fleets of the Galactic Council will eliminate your species entirely. This is not a negotiation. This is not a request. This is your final warning. The silence that followed felt thick enough to cut with a knife. Every alien delegate watched Kate Morrison, waiting for her response. Some expected tears. Others anticipated anger or desperate pleas for mercy. A few thought she might collapse under the weight of the ultimatum. Instead, Kate Morrison did something that shocked them all. She smiled. Not a nervous smile or a desperate grin, but a genuine expression of amusement. The smile spread across her face slowly, like sunrise over a peaceful meadow. "I'll relay your message to Earth," she said in the same calm voice she had used throughout the proceedings. "You'll have your answer in 30 days. She turned and walked toward the chamber doors with the same steady steps she had used when entering. The alien delegates watched her go, confused and increasingly worried. In their combined experience spanning thousands of years and hundreds of species, only two types of beings responded to extinction threats with amusement: the completely insane or those who knew something you didn't. As the doors closed behind Admiral Kate Morrison, the Galactic Council chamber erupted in worried discussions in 12 different languages. None of them could shake the feeling that they had just made a terrible mistake.